Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, dependent, of course, on when and where you are joining us from. This is the EPN podcast, a podcast that's been designed to demystify the sales profession and remove some of the stigma that is associated with it. Now, we're looking to do that by talking to various salespeople to lift the curtain, should I say, on their experience so far, talking more about their journey and, of course, sharing tips, tricks, and insight throughout. Now, today we are joined by Andrew Proud, an ex-colleague of mine. We had some great fun working together at Vidyard. Andrew's just joined TravelPerk as an account executive there. And I'm really looking forward to the session today, Andy. Did you want to take a second to introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm based out of Edinburgh, up here in sunny Scotland, and I'm working here at TravelPerk. Changing the world of travel one step at a time in the account executive role. I've worked at a variety of different places beforehand, so keen to sort of chat more about that. And looking forward to it today.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, what was it initially that intrigued you by a career in sales?
I think most people probably say this when you're speaking to them, that they fell into the role. I started in marketing. I did what everyone does when they leave school and don't know what to do, and that's study international business. So once I'd done that, I'd sort of got a degree in marketing, and I went down that route, working at an aquarium. So doing sales and marketing for an aquarium. So incredibly interesting at the time, but I just didn't feel like it was quite right for me. There was a few things that I didn't think fit my personality type. And that's when I sort of went into the market and seen what's out there. And that's when I landed my first sales role. Now, when I got into this world, when it comes to B2B selling, there was a lot I didn't know. Actually, pretty much most things I didn't know. And there was a lot of learning. And the more I sort of watched things on the likes of Sales Feed and YouTube and TikTok and learned about sales, I thought it was very interesting. And there was a lot of room for growth. And I sort of fit my personality and sort of what I was looking to do in a much more succinct way. And that's sort of what's kept me on this journey. I've not jumped around to any other functionality as of yet. I'm still sticking down that sales route and really enjoying it. So that's sort of how I got into it.
Yeah, it'll be customer success next. And then you've done the trifecta, marketing, sales, CS.
Then I'll just have to jump to enablement and then RevOps as well, just so I can, really bulk out that.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. So I imagine throughout your career, there's been some pretty challenging days. Have you got any best practices, any tips on, how you typically face those challenges and overcome them?
Yeah, I think when I first started out, I was in a really complicated world, a world of localization, and a lot of things were changing in the industry. AI was the big thing and changing the way things were working. But I think sort of following people who are succeeding and watching what they do was super important. So I'm a big lover of call recordings. Some people hate them, but I love them. And I think watching what the best people are doing is a great way to sort of learn and adapt your style. And also fishing for feedback. Whenever you've just started, I'm quite new into TravelPerk, sharing your calls with other people and getting that feedback. So that's the only way you can be better at it. So I think that's something I really learned was everyone's, having the same challenges and really seeing what the best people are doing and getting results, try and sort of see how that works and try it for yourself. So that's something I like to do. I'm a massive creep with call recordings. I'm sure everyone who's ever worked with me will attest to that. When I message them saying, "Hey, I just watched your call, loved when you did that," and they're like, why did you watch my call? But it's definitely something that's useful for you.
Yeah, indeed. I remember when we did work at Vidyard, I was an SDR, so I'd flip certain opportunities to Andrew, and there would typically be a line that I'd said about your thick Scottish accent. You don't really have that thick Scottish accent, but people, particularly the Americans, they used to love it. So I'd always say it. And then it dawned on me one day, he's going to watch these calls. but yeah. Oh, good stuff. So obviously being in sales, it is fantastic. Because I think it's so agile. We operate in an environment that is ever changing. We get to speak to people firsthand, hear about their challenges, the problems that they're facing. We get instant feedback from the market. But equally, that presents quite a lot of challenges because we feel most harshly any shifts that take place in the market, any shifts in buyer behaviors. So have you got any tips on how people can stay adaptable? I know you mentioned those feedback loops, how important that is. Perhaps testing and optimizing, anything outside of that?
I think working on your communication, communications, even if you don't know something, for example, like if a prospect asks you something, being able to communicate in a way that builds confidence is great. So you don't need to know everything, but what you do is need to know how to communicate and manage expectations and deal with that interaction. So I think like I read some sales books, I find them interesting. A lot of people don't. But what's something I read recently was 92 ways to communicate with anyone. And I thought it was super useful in life as well, just general networking, but also when it comes to those interactions with people in a sales environment. I think knowing everything's impossible, especially because things are changing so fast. But for example, like I had a call the other day about something super niche that I didn't know being new to the company, but I said that, I can go away and find this out and this is how that's going to happen and lay a plan in place for them. So they feel it's going to happen rather than, I don't know if you've ever been to a restaurant and there's a language barrier and you order something and they say, yeah. And you think, I don't know if they actually got that.
Yeah.
Then it comes and it's, yeah, but that's not what's happened. So you're allergic to nuts, it comes out covered in nuts and they've just said, yeah. That hasn't filled you with confidence, that interaction. But if they said, I don't understand, but I'll go find someone, and then you know that that's been taken care of. So understanding communication in different situations and how to manage people's expectations is useful, especially when things change so fast. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great point. I think pride is the devil at times for people, for juniors. I know that at the start of my career, I wanted to be able to answer those questions when sometimes the best case is hold your hands up, be transparent and assure the prospect or the person you're talking to that you are going to do the necessary to get the actual answer to that question.
Especially if you sort of then set their expectations up there by saying sort of yes to something blindly or, just agreeing because it's comfortable to agree. You're then having to backpedal, which is the most uncomfortable thing. So best is to manage that friction early on, and then there's less friction to manage. So that's sort of what I've felt anyway. I've been stung many times by, having to go back with my tail between my legs and say, oh, actually, that thing we don't do.
Yeah.
That was the big reason they were talking to us because it had been agreed to at the start. So that's something I've definitely learned from by being stung by it. So most things I've learned, I've been stung by. So yeah. So which is not nice for me. I should really learn off others. Sort of like I said at the start, but I told myself to learn my lesson. That's for sure.
Indeed. It makes sure that it then sticks, right? By actually experiencing it yourself. Nice. Now, content creation, I want to talk about for a second because I know that you're quite a keen creator. I love some of the content that you put out. Now, it's typically, or traditionally, should I say, an exercise that was left to marketing, or perhaps I should say guarded by marketing because they didn't trust sales people to produce their own content. As I said, you create some really great content. In your opinion, why is it so important that salespeople are creating and sharing their own content?
I think, from my point of view, I've had some success from my own metrics being influenced by content creating. So people coming inbound, for example, to speak to me based on something I've done, staying top of mind, that type of thing. I've had that success. But I think in other ways, that's sort of the way the world's going, organic media, TikTok, LinkedIn creators who are really seeing great success without it being reliant on the company. Like if I thought of Sales Loft, for example, what content do they produce? I can't really think of it, but I can think of Tom Boston, and that's what I would say is Sales Loft. So he's sort of grown beyond the company he's worked for in terms of content creation. And I think what people want. We speak to customers every day. So when you're sort of, talking about stuff that's relevant, you can really target that to your experience and the network you've grown. Marketing's job is to cast that wider net of new customers. But I think you're sort of that next level of hyper personalization. The same way sales is with email, with call, it's like the personalization level below marketing. So I like it, and you know what? I like getting likes on LinkedIn. I like people commenting. It makes me feel good, and it makes everyone feel good. That's why people use things like Instagram. So that's sort of where I started doing it, and video for me is a big thing. I love video. I think it's a really good medium, but I think getting started and not to worry about what everyone else is doing, like, just think what's relevant for you, what do you find interesting to interact with, and go from there. But there is the trap on the other side that you get tied in with content creation, that you're like, I now have a responsibility to always post on, and then other things get forgotten about. So I think it's a fun extra. If it can put things into your pipeline, use that. So I seem to be plugging a lot of people here of different things, but Sarah from Pareto is a great example. She's on TikTok doing cold calls. That's what her content is. She loves doing that content, and it's got her some success where people she's calling are saying, oh my God, I know you. You're Sarah from Pareto. So that's a great way of sort of showing that that's had success. So yeah, I've sort of gone on a tangent there, but there's a few different things that I find interesting about the social side. And I need to start doing it more, but I think the thing is, when you shift industry, when you shift role, it's good to sort of learn and get and understand there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Starting to do content creation, because the worst thing is making content that's not relevant. You think you know things that aren't actually true, and then it just sort of makes it you lose sort of credibility. So yeah, hopefully I'll be doing more soon. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. We need to see another country cover.
I mean, who knows? I might diversify my my genres, but I don't really have a wide scale, so it'll be pretty much the country, I think. Now Beyonce's made it cool. I can bring it into...
Jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Yeah, I think it's a really good point. I mean, Sarah from Pareto, I don't think I've seen her content, but what a great way to bring down the barriers of a cold call by someone picking up and recognizing it's you.
Yeah, in a good way as well. Yeah. Oh, it's you. But yeah, sometimes could be the case. It's, I watch her content because she's selling to salespeople, so her content really connects to salespeople. So, yeah, it's a great way of doing it.
Love that. Now, I'm going to cover the sort of advice portion of the session. I'm sure you've received some great pieces of advice from those people that you leverage in your network, that you're learning from. Are there any standouts that have really got stuck with you?
There's a lot of different advice that I've received. I think holding out and digging deeper is super important, because when I first started, someone would say a word. Like, let's say you're in the world of translation and they'd say, we're interested in quality. Now, your first response is, oh, well, guess what? We've got great quality and we test it. And same with, Vidyard, or you're selling the tools. So, like, we want to book more meetings. Oh, people book more meetings all the time. So easy to do that. But it's holding that out and saying why. Why do you want to book more meetings? Get deeper and use the first sort of part of any call to really understand the customer. Keep it customer orientated. So when they say something, still push it back on them. And then you've got this bank of ammunition. So when you're doing a demo, for example, you can really then dig in and say, when you talked about that, this is where it's getting done. But then you know the value of it. So I think holding back and not just jumping at looking for those trigger words and actually really deepening the pain is important. And that's something I learned over time, and that's something that sort of stuck with me. And also keeping it problem. So I don't know if you've read Problem Prospecting. It's a great book for prospecting, and that changed the way I sort of talked about things. I talked a lot about, we have this and this is what it can do for you, but it was all about changing that. So imagine what problems they're facing, what's the big thing that's wrong with their process, and then flip it to how you can help. So I think they're the two ones. Always dig deeper. Don't jump in at the first hook. And similar vein, actually, as the problem prospecting, it's all about the problem. and then you can build a solution from there rather than giving them millions of solutions and then they're like, yeah, that looks good. So.
Yeah, indeed. I'm yet to read it, but I have got it on the shelf just behind me.
That's like most of my books, actually. I bought Influence the other day. It's huge. I didn't realize how big that book was. But that'll take a while. So, yeah, it just looks good. Like, people are like, oh, he reads big books there. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Now, it sounds as if professional and personal development is something that you hold dear. You know, you're a fairly avid reader. You love sort of leveraging those feedback loops. Are there any best practices that you've picked up along the way?
I think not really best practices as such, but like trying something new. I think always, there's no harm in doing something different. And don't be scared of tension. I think sometimes we're really scared to ask questions because of the reaction that we imagine we're going to get. So, for example, if you say, we've got the budget, then you're just like, I don't want to ask what the number is. Or we're speaking to competitors, what if they say no? Well, that's the worst that can happen. So I think it's like, the worst that can happen is not that bad when you're asking questions. So I think that's something that was really good. So always try different things, try things in different ways, like even from agenda setting to prospecting. Like, if you send a video and you feel like you look stupid, I mean, who cares? One person will see it. And the worst case is they say, ha ha ha, I'll send this to everyone in my work, and they laugh about it for a day. But the best that could happen is you're getting a meeting, you're getting a sale. So it's like, try and think like the worst that can happen isn't that bad when you try new things. So if you obviously email everyone in the database top secret information, that's pretty bad. But that's not what I mean. It's more about, just little things like asking different questions, be bold in what you're doing. So that's something I've sort of tried to do more of. There are some times where you think, oh, I should have asked this question. Like today, I asked for a referral basically out of nowhere with someone I've not worked with yet, just to try the waters there. So you can always try something new and do something different. So.
Yeah, I love that. And then in terms of advice that you'd have for anyone that has either just sort of embarked on their sales journey or perhaps they're considering a career in sales, what would that be?
I think sort of the first stuff is really tough when it comes to like getting into those initial roles, because a lot of the initial roles are BDR, SDR and larger organizations, and that can be a lot of the tough stuff with not as much of the fun stuff. Like when you're speaking to people, like that's when it's all super exciting and deals are moving forward. Like that's the exciting part. The prospecting and the getting those initial conversations is super tough. So I think it's sort of like seeing the full journey for what it is. So like, see, like I want to get, or it doesn't always have to be new business. Some people want to go to account management, but tends to go through that SDR route. Sort of having that final goal in mind. I mean, I didn't when I started. But then over time, I was like, I really want to get to the stage where I'm involved with this. Willie was a big sort of influence there when it came to like mapping out what I wanted to do and what I wanted to get to. And I think also if you're making a switch from industry, like don't feel anything's a step down. I think sometimes you get like set in a way where you're like, I've progressed, let's say myself in marketing. I was at a marketing agency, then I became a marketing manager of different sites. And I was like, I'm sort of, in theory, changing roles downwards, but it then helped rocket me up to way beyond where I was to begin with. So I think sometimes, taking that leap and then over the course of time, you'll get to something better. And when it comes to looking for roles, like right now, the market, super sort of competitive. It's a different place. And I think we often fall for looking for the nice logos, look, this company's so nice and everyone talks about it. But sometimes the companies that have less of a presence, there's more opportunity there. So maybe more traditional industries or sort of the like data and cybersecurity, which you don't always see, like they're not advertised heavily as much as maybe a MailChimp, for example. You used to see that advertised on TV and you thought, that's a great SaaS company to work for, which it probably is, and now part of Intuit, but there's other options there that you might not know of. So be open and have as many conversations with people who work at the company already, anyone who'll speak to you. I think is good to widen your network, because when I got made redundant from Vidyard, that's something I learned. It's something I need to improve on, is getting a better soft network of people who, because when I started interviewing, most of my opportunities came from people I knew. And now when I'm selling, a lot of opportunities I've had are coming in from people I know. So it's sort of like that's super important. And it doesn't feel like, because at the time, the first exchange isn't, I speak to you, we speak to each other, I get a job interview. It's slower than that. And I think seeing the long-term value in it is something I've learned. Because at first I was all about, I speak to them, there's no outcome here. So what was the point of that? But then over time, I've really sort of seen that, okay, there was no outcome of that initial conversation. We stayed in touch, we've helped each other in different ways. And then, you get there in the end. So I think sort of widening your network, and as well, there's so much out there in terms of content about people getting started. Mentioned Willick and Sales Feed in general is a great source of how to get into tech sales or how to get into sales in general, and then do it. No one's paying you to do it, but that's how you get the job. Reach out to that hiring manager, send them a personalized email why you can solve their problem. Your problem is you're not generating enough business and you're looking for an SDR. I can do that. I've done certain things before that translate into that role. And you'll be the one that stands out. I mean, out of all those people, easy apply on LinkedIn is, people just click it. If you're the 1 in 100 that sends a video or sends a personalized voice note, you're going to stand out and get that opportunity, even if you've not got the experience. So
yeah, it's putting into practice what you will be doing, right? You're literally advertising what is possible.
Yeah,
right.
And that's something I sort of found, because like I worked closely with our BDR manager and Babel, and like the ones he'd talk about were the ones that basically treated it like a sales opportunity. They'd send them the email. They'd do the follow-up after the call. Hey, like, great meeting with you. Understand that this is the timeline. Really sort of what you would do in the role. And I think that set them really well and saw them to success. So it feels like you're doing a lot of effort, but you're not doing it to hundreds and hundreds of jobs. You're saying like, here's the pick. Someone I worked with, I can't remember who it was. That's how they used to apply for jobs. They'd be like, these are the 10 companies that I know about the culture, I'm interested, and then they'd really in-depth prospect and reach out for roles. And I thought that was amazing. Like, that was way beyond sort of what I would expect to do. But I was really amazed by that. So there's so many different ways. But it's easy to just fall into the trap of, if I put easy apply on 100 things, one will come back, because the one that comes back, you'll speak to them and be like, I don't want to work here. Like, but this isn't for me. So I think really sort of treating it like you're in the role already, because you know how the role is, and sort of see what the future plan is for yourself. Like, do you want to be in new business? Because a lot of people don't. Like, I know loads of people who started SDR and BDR roles, but want to be more in that account nurturing and growing area, and that's fine as well. So new business, and that is not the only route. There's so many different routes as well, but have an idea of what it is. It's a great way to get into larger companies, and make sure the person that you're working with, that you're interviewing with, is someone that you feel like could develop and work with you. Because I've got a certain style that works with some people, doesn't work with others. And I think like that's something that was really important to me as I've chosen different roles, is the people I'm working with, are they a good fit for my development? And most of the time, they have been, and that's sort of why I've joined those companies. So I think it's both ways there. So make sure it fits you as well as just finding something for you. So,
I completely agree. And connect with your future peers, your future colleagues.
Yeah.
Like prior to joining Vidyard, what I did was I had that short list.
Yeah.
These are the 10, 15 companies that I'd like to.
What was you?
I think it may.
Yeah.
And then I just send connections to as many people as possible, other FDRs. I mean, before I got offered the job at Vidyard, I'd spoken to all of the SDR BDRs, the majority of the AEs as well, just because I wanted to understand if the culture inside was how it appeared outside, and actually properly understand the role. Good stuff.
People are honest. People are really honest, and they want to share that information. Because I've had the positive side where people say, "Oh, it's great here," and that's great. But I've also had it on the negative where I've had initial meetings with a company, and then there was something inside that I was like, maybe this isn't a good fit, and I'd reach out to people who'd recently left the company, and they'd sort of speak to me and say, the reason I left was XXX reason. And I was like, well, those are reasons I wouldn't go to a company. So then I've made a decision based on that. So, so there's the positives, there's the negatives, and don't be afraid. Like, people are super receptive to it because you're not asking anything from them. People love sharing their opinion. I mean, look, I'm here today doing that. So yeah, people love sharing their opinions. Feel free to ask for it.
Love that. Andrew, it's been a great session. Where can people reach out? Is LinkedIn the best place?
I mean, LinkedIn is the best place. Hopefully I'll be doing some more interesting content out there, but there's some interesting stuff there that you can go back and look at. And then if there's anything you want to chat about, or whether that be sales in general, or, you're looking to get better business travel, either topic or video. I like talking about video still. So let me know, and we can definitely have a connect and chat.
Love that, Andrew. Andrew, thank you for joining, and to the audience, until next time.
Thanks so much, Jordan. Bye.